Hello, everybody. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. My name is Martin Lovers. I'm the Chief Trend Watcher of Supply Chain Media. I'm also the Editor-in-Chief of Supply Chain Movement, the European quarterly magazine and website and newsletter. And I also the architect of the SCM IT Supermap Europe. So that's my background. I will be moderating this interesting webinar, live webinar, 60 minutes as of now, and we will discuss a great topic: how ChatGPT will revolutionize supply chain design. So we will talk about supply chain management and AI in the next hour. So next to me, I also have three experts. So first, Zoe Kokje Schouten from Ames. Welcome.
Thanks, Martijn.
And next we have Akhil Srivastava. I hope I pronounced your name quite right. He is responsible for supply chain at AB InBev. Akhil, welcome.
Thanks, Martin.
And last but not least, we have Zoltán Lelkes. He's partner at OptaSoft. Zoltán, welcome.
Welcome, Martin, and welcome everybody who is there.
So yeah, we have a great audience. I think that we have more than 1,000. I think that 1,200 participants in the webinar. I don't know how many will be showing up live, but a lot of them. So as we can see, this topic is very hot indeed. A few things before we start talking about the topic at hand. This webinar will be recorded, and the PDF will be made available within 48 hours afterwards. We will exclude the short demo with how AI works in real life, but you will see later. So the audience is on mute, but you can ask questions. So you can see on the right-hand side the chat function. It's not ChatGPT, but it is a chat function. So if you ask questions, they will be answered by other participants. But if you want questions to be asked to the experts, please use the Q&A functionality at the right-hand side. You see the text bubbles, and I will track down these questions. If the questions are in line of our discussions we are having, I will ask these questions right away. If not, I will reserve these questions for the Q&A at the end of the hour. And next, we also have an extra 30 minutes. So after 5 o'clock, the four of us will joining at this virtual lounge, and there will be 3 tables: one about security, one about supply chain network design, and one about the pilot of the use of ChatGPT and AI. So you can join us, and we can have a direct conversation like a Zoom meeting. So when you join afterwards, you can have an extra opportunity to ask questions to the experts. All right. So now we will put up our camera, and there's a reason why, because you can enlarge your screen so you have a better view on the interesting slides. So so that's what we're gonna do. So first, why we are talking about this topic. So this slide is showing what CEOs are talking about during their quarterly earning calls with analysts. So they have tracked down a lot of phrases, and we'll get back to what's now hot and happening. So in the last quarter of last year, you see, on the upper side, you see open source, reshoring. The labor market was under stress. Interest rates are popping up. Inflation is popping up. Energy prices was hot. And you see in the red squares a lot of topics still on supply chain. So yes, in the last 2-3 years, CEOs are talking about supply chain disruptions and that kind of topics. So there was Q4 last year. But next, as of last quarter in Q1, all of a sudden, CEOs are starting to talk about ChatGPT. Yes, you see it in the upper side of this graph, and also about machine learning and AI on the right hand side. So you see ChatGPT and AI is mentioned in the calls of quarterly earnings by Fortune 500 companies in the US and all over the world. So that's the reason why we come up with this topic. And still, shortages are happening, as we know, in the supply chain, warehouse shortages, because there are, the warehouses are full. We have produced too much, and demand is falling, slipping, and there's an economic uncertainty. So these are 2 slides about how things are changing in the world, what we see happening, and the topics the CEOs and also CFOs are mentioning in calls. And next we have, like I said, we have Ames, Zoe as one of the experts. This is our SCM IT Supermap Europe, just published last week, actually. So basically what I'm doing, I track down all the major players of supply chain software in Europe, and I position them on different supply lines. So based on their input, you see, where they have implemented their software. So it's not a matter of what kind of software they offer. No, it's the matter of what they have a lot of implementations in Europe. And as we can see, Ames is here, and basically from the left to the right, they are either have a lot of implementations on sales and operations planning, demand planning and forecasting. That's the light blue. Production planning, and the purple one is transport planning, but the pink one is actually the heritage of Ames. That's network design. So that's basically how we position them on this software map. And this is a bit of the Dutch-Belgium corner. And when you go to the supply line, you see all the major players in Europe, and Ames is also there. So Zoe, maybe you can explain, about your heritage. Ames started out as a tool for network design, and it has developed. But maybe you can explain a bit more about Ames itself, and then later on we go to, the GTP4 and the network design part.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So I work for Ames. I'm the business director, supply chain solutions, which means that I'm responsible for the product vision. So today I'm talking from a product point of view. And Ames is a Dutch-based company, and we are in the decision-making business, which means that we indeed provide technology which help people make better supply chain planning decisions. We are in this business over 30 years, and we make use since the beginning of mathematical optimization to calculate what the best thing to do is in case you have a big decision to make for your supply chains, which is often known as network design or network optimization, scenario modeling. There are different wording to describe the same. We have offices all around the globe. And of course, as we are based on math, we do our calculations. So we know that every 3 minutes there is a scenario solved by our technology. And it's always fun to do the calculations then that in the hour that we are talking today, there are 20 supply chain planning decisions answered by our technology, which always makes us very proud. We operate in different markets. But what they all have in common is that they are companies who have a complex supply chain, and they need technology in order to calculate what they need to do on a strategic and on a tactical level. And the number in the corner, in the low corner on the right, is the number which makes us the most proud party here, is that we have a very high customer satisfaction. And I know that a lot of software companies out there claim that they are providing the best service in the market. But in our case, our customers are actually telling us how happy they are with our partnership in their technology. And I think that's from a product perspective also very important for us, because you can make amazing technology as a company, but if the users who need to work and adopt with the technology, if they don't feel empowered, then you can never unlock the true potential of the technology. So therefore, our customer relationships are the most precious thing that we have as Ames. And also for today, as we're going to talk about the prototype that we've built and how we will change network design, everything that we've done is together with our users, so based on customer feedback. So that's Ames.
I'm just curious to see, you talked about how many decisions are made during this hour. Have you made any calculations how many savings you generated for your customers within this hour?
Oh, that's a very good one. I don't, but I do know that cost of minimizing cost or maximizing profit are often the big objectives when calculations are made. And sometimes one calculation can save billions. So I think I don't have a math background, so I think I cannot do the calculations, but it will contain a lot of zeros.
Yeah, but it should be great to see, that you could see live that it has been saved by your applications. But maybe that's something for the near future with the TTP4 to be solved. Maybe you can talk about network design and what it is, network design, and then we get deeper into the topic.
Yeah, of course. So network design is the terminology that we use to explain what we do as the technology that we provide. So what supply chain departments, center of excellences, or partners, consultancy partners use our technology for is that they make a digital copy of the networks of the supply chains, and that allows you to visualize your supply chain in our technology. That's what you see on the picture here. And having that digital copy and that visualization, that allows you to have a safe space of your network, a safe copy to run scenarios against. And those scenarios are run often on strategic and tactical level to answer high impact business decisions. And it can be all kinds of decisions, but what they all have in common is that the users want to know the impact of certain decisions before they start to invest. And you don't only want to know what the best thing to do is, you also want to know what the backup plans are. So what are different scenarios which you can operate to get where you want to go to with your network. And previously in history, that's often done as a one-off study. So a company had one big CapEx site selection question, for example, and did a study to answer that question, and then they would implement. But now more and more that we see is that companies are adopting a digital twin approach.
Mhm.
So they have one team which maintains and operates a digital twin of their networks, and they run business questions against that digital twin all the time, so on a continuous level. So we see that market trend going from one-off studies to continuous digital twins. And I said already, it's used to make decisions, to calculate what you need to do in case you have a high impact decision. And the beauty is that what the best decision is depends on your company, on what you want to achieve. And those objectives are often maximizing the profit or minimizing the cost or making sure the service levels are the best one out there or reducing carbon emissions. But I think the beauty really of our tool is that you can find the sweet spot between all of those, or between 2 or 3 of those, and the tool will calculate based on your objective, so what you want to achieve, what you need to do for your business question.
I met David Sensai already 15 years ago, and also a lot of times afterwards, and he said then, things are changing. So in the old days, manufacturing companies were looking at a network design every 5 years to see, okay, should we open up a factory, close down a warehouse, etc. Do this stuff, and that had, already 10 years ago, the frequency went up from every 5 years to every 3 years. But now things are changing so rapidly. You have, and maybe you outsource it to a consultancy, but now manufacturing companies and retail companies want to do it themselves more frequently because things are changing too rapidly, and also other parameters go into into the objectives like carbon emissions. So they have to have a digital twin and use it very frequently.
Yeah, we see exactly the same thing happening. Yes.
Yeah. So what kind of questions are they asking? You see again such a network design. So what has changed? What kind of questions are companies asking to the application to get an answer?
Yeah, there are a lot of different questions depending on the industries, but the most common questions that we see happening are a greenfield analysis, also known as site selection. So where do I need to place my next facility? But also cost to serve. So how can I optimize my existing network and lower the cost or increase the service levels? Make or buy decisions are very common, and everything in between. What I see in the last couple of years is a lot of what if scenarios to ensure business continuity. Like you said, the world is changing so rapidly, and you want to make sure that you enable business continuity to know what to do in case something happens. So being resilient, preparing for disruptions, and knowing what to do. Yeah, what if something happens?
And if I've studied operations research a long time ago, and I know this kind of optimizations with the linear program and the likes. But now you have geopolitics. You have the war in Ukraine. You have the tension between China and Taiwan and US. So how can you include this kind of geopolitical pressures into a mathematical model?
Yes, that's a really important question, and there's a lot of data already to get that in there, and I think also the importance to make sure that you add that type of data into your network models is becoming more and more relevant. Yeah, so that's something you can take into account.
Yeah, I know. I know your software, and I saw the functionality last week, actually at the Garden Conference in Barcelona, that you have the functionality to add this kind of geopolitical pressures into a mathematical model to include it in your optimization. Maybe you can, before we go deeper into the topic, maybe you can explain what kind of companies you're serving and are using your applications.
Yes, so these are a couple of the logos which are using our technology, and I think it's good to understand that our technology comes in two shapes. The one shape is a pre-built off-the-shelf application which we call SC Navigator, which is used by supply chain companies. But we also have the same tool in a bespoke version, which is like all the separate components of the tool, which companies use to build their own perfect application. And I'm very happy that I'm accompanied today by one of those users, which you all can see in the logo here, which is AB InBev.
Okay. And also consultancy firms are using, the more complex version, or the specific version for their own purposes for their consulting business.
They do, but what I see happening there as well, that they are moving towards the off-the-shelf tool more and more. So a couple of years ago, everybody built something specific, tailor-made for their particular case. But the off-the-shelf version is becoming so complete that it saves everybody a lot of time to use the pre-built version. So also a big trend and change there.
Oh yeah, and then looking at these logos, it goes up from the chemicals industry to CPG to high tech, and also into the retail space. So and logistics. So basically, all the industries are within the supply chain ecosystem are covered with this kind of application.
Yes.
All right, and moving over to specifically one company, AB InBev. So Akhil, maybe you can explain how you are using Ames.
Yeah, hey Martin. So I lead the BU India planning and logistics for AB InBev. What we envision here is that every company, just like ours, look at having a greater product differentiation and a better, improved customer experiences, right? So in that world of one ambition, if I may say, is we would always strive to have advanced customer and consumer experiences, and for which you need to have a supply chain which is resilient, agile, and something which is much more responsible as well. Given those three together, what I was trying to drive with the help of Ames was to enhance consumer experiences and evolve our capabilities to serve, as well as empower the leadership to take real-time online decision making, right? And hence Ames came up as a good system of design which enabled us to deploy two of their modules. One is the SNOP module, wherein we were able to work through on the DRM, which is called as demand review management, SRM, which is supply review management, as well as putting it down for an executive SNOP sign off, which is sales and operation planning. To me, that builds up a lot more of A, data driven decision making, B, put in one system of records so that you can go back and start utilizing those databases to drive in future stat forecast, which will enable you to further fine tune your KPIs as well as performance of business metrics like the forecast accuracy and forecast bias, as well as looking at evolving the product offering. This really helps AB InBev, and in particular any other company for that matter, either in terms of cost, quality, service, or efficiency levers, whichever you're trying to drive in your supply chain network design. The second module we are using is the tank scheduling. Because we are a beer company, we really look forward to work with a lot more of optionalities in terms of tanks and the beer to offer. And this really helps us gauge the product readiness the ability to pack and deliver in real time as we get the demand sensing and demand shaping accordingly. So those are the two key modules. AIMS have been deployed across, and we have been utilizing it so far.
Yeah, okay. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about the benefits of both modules of the use of AIMS.
Yeah, so as I said, it's across the four levers. It really helps improve the collaboration across teams because now it's on one system of records. Everyone using AIMS can log in and look at what was the demand, what is the supply, what is the available and capable to promise product lines, right? We can, in that process, look at the newer inputs and take real-time decisions, helping enable a much more resilient, much more agile, and much more collaborative process. We can also do a lot more of scenario planning as well as scheduling of our tanks, for example. And of course, that will really help in terms of optimizing the supply network design, in terms of source, in terms of service, in terms of capability to offer a better, enhanced, and evolved consumer service. So in total, it really helps us improve the overall network optimization.
The final part, reducing planning time. I think, because there are a lot of forces out there, and stressing the supply chain. So reducing lead times is one of the things manufacturing companies are looking for, but also reducing response times, to take decisions. And I think that's also a new part of the game.
Yes, it is, and that's the basic theme in any supply chain design network, wherein you're looking to be more agile, more responsive, and those two things can happen if everyone is using the same system of records, which means you are looking forward to enable people log into a system, put a real-time data, and hence a real-time escalation / alerts can be taken, and the respective function can start acting on it, rather than being over the wall concept, which has been historical. A lean principle and a more system and streamlined module can really help reduce a lot more of communication lead times, and hence it reduces the overall time or tact in terms of a lean philosophy from a as is value stream to a from as is value stream to a future value stream, which will be much more streamlined, and you cut through all the non-value added activities.
And looking at the right-hand side, you see the visualization of the year to date and it's for the near future, but also the forecasting accuracy. So the visualization of the results of using this application also works to show that you are on the right track.
Obviously, I mean, a dashboarding of your KPIs really helps you to gauge through your performance. But the KPIs to me are a latent factor. I believe in a key concept called KLIs, which is called as key learning indicators. And I believe real-time insights can really help you improve the decision making. And rather than doing a post-mortem effect of a KPI, whether it got triggered or not, it's better to improve it then and there so that you either save costs, quality, or service of offering to the customers. So I think a dashboarding really, really helps improve a lot more on a real-time basis rather than taking reactive measures.
So you are using AIMS for sales and operations planning, but also for the tank scheduling. But still, there should be some challenges still. So can you mention something about what are the challenges in supply chain planning at this moment?
Oh yes, I mean there will always be a challenge, especially when you're evolving a new system. So I go with a rule called 60, 30, and 10. So 60% is the people. So adoption of a technology becomes equally and more important. 30% is process streamline because gone are the days when people used to call over phones or emails. Now things are streamlined into a ERP system, but of course someone has to operate that. And then 10% is technology in terms of customization. So I believe if we follow through the a 60-30-10 rule of people, process, and technology in overlay, I think this could be a good system of commands to drive decision making much faster and enable great resilience and agility in supply chain network design.
So you see a lot of phrases here, the use of the dependencies, so you touch upon it. But the other parts, reactive design, time consuming, and the micro and the macro factors. Can you tell me about more, especially the latest part of these factors?
Yeah, so essentially, historically, the decisions would have been only on pull and push factors, which would include the historical sales forecast, sales demand, marketing-led promotions, of 4 Ps, as we say: the price, product, promotion, and packaging. But I think of late, given the VUCA world, things have evolved significantly in today's supply chains. There could be a black swan event. There could be certain events like you were mentioning earlier in terms of global disruptions. We need to, as a supply chain, anticipate. And I believe, hence, the challenges in today's supply chain is not about how resilient you are, because resilience is, to me, a post facto effect. I would say an insight driven anticipation led scenario and simulations would be something which would be much more helpful for the future supply chain leaders, because that really helps you mitigate the risk as well as really deliver on time, every time, in full.
So maybe you can tell us about what will AI provide in this matter.
Yeah, so frankly, we have not gone to an AI level at this point, but what we have seen is it could be chatbots, it could be systems of new age technology, whether it's artificial intelligence or in terms of any tracking mechanism in terms of escalation and alert. It really helps streamline the system. It really has a chain of command which can be triggered in case the downline has, for whatever reasons, the SLAs have been breached, and hence it really helps provide a real-time actionable insight. And if it's not actioned out, it also has a mitigation step by having a escalation matrix as per the defined SLAs.
So what does it mean for the user, as to use this? Because AI seems like the computer will do all the work, but what is your view on what is the role of the user in this matter?
So I believe, and I'm talking of 10 years down the line, maybe 2030, 35 onwards, when the supply chains of future would be touchless or minimal intervention by human. And in that case, AI driven, or for that matter, any other new age technology driven supply chain design would really enable automation, digitization, seamless information in exchange and interchange. If it's an extended enterprise, it could be really helpful in terms of also having a lot more of readiness, both downstream and upstream. But more importantly, it would be just exception based management, right? Rather than doing a same task over and over again. Because then if the computer, as you rightly said, does take intelligent decisions, I think then the human power could be more used in terms of streamlining, strategizing, and designing the utilization of AI. So, for example, if you say about ChatGPT, it's not about what ChatGPT will do. It's about how strategically we deploy ChatGPT. And in that case, that's what AI will in future drive. It will drive a lot more of automation, a lot more of unemotional, unbiased, non-human, fallacy-based interventions. And then there could always be exception managements to overrule some of them, but those will be documented as well. So I think that would be great if the moment we move towards automation and digitization.
We'll see later on.
Martijn, maybe to add. So from our side, from Ames side, this is not something we will provide which will happen in the coming years. So we have built this already, and we are going to provide the prototype in a couple of minutes. But just to explain what is shown on this slide is that we've incorporated network design and embraced it with ChatGPT, so large language models, which is run on GTP4. And what it will do and how it will change the network design or revolutionize network design is that AI will assist the user. And how that will work is that AI will search for relevant events for users, for their company, for their network, and it will analyze the impact. So we thought first, okay, just bringing the alerts to a user is already a first step, but then, like you said in the beginning, the world is changing so rapidly and there's so much happening, and global supply chains are impacted by events which are happening at every angle of the world. So as a human, your head almost will explode if you need to keep up with all these changes. So AI will assist the user there by making them aware of the alerts which are relevant for their networks. and then it will analyze the impact. And I think there's where the ChatGPT, the AI of the large language modules, is the perfect fit, because it will explain in human language, and you will see that in the prototype as well, what the impact is. And that allows for the user to quickly understand if a certain event is relevant, but also how an event will impact their networks.
Yeah.
And then going one step further, we can even then suggest to the user which scenarios needs to be run. And first we thought, oh, that's great, because a lot of time will be saved. But when we showed this to our users and shared our ideas, the first reaction from our users was, oh, but it's not only the time which is saved, it's also the confidence which I'm gaining to know that I'm doing the right thing, because it's based on more intellectual data than just my own brain at this moment. And then we can automate the scenarios for you. And that means that what Akhil said, that it's the current challenges for a user, it's user-driven, it's reactive. We can now evolve that into being prescriptive and making sure that the user can act within minutes and not within weeks, as it is today if you build a network design scenario.
And I
Yeah,
think yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and just to add to Zoe's compliment her point, I think a network design thrives on causation and correlation, and
Yep.
I believe an AI-based event can really give a real-time causation correlation. To her point, evolve a lot more of simulations and scenario mapping, which otherwise, if a human brain or human intervention does on an Excel sheet, it takes forever, right? The algorithms. So it just helps reduce cost, being more agile, and in future with a lot of data can be really predictive to start with, and maybe turn prescriptive going forward, so that it's a holistic single touch or non-touch digital intervention in supply chain.
Akhil, good point, because AI is good at, finding out certain correlation, but the causality, it has to be trained most of the time still by humans. And in
Yeah.
the end, you can train the computer for causality, but that will be the role of the planners, to find out, is there a causality? And if so, what is the impact? And then use it for further calculations. And I think that the main change is, the planners have more an outside view for the future than going back in time, more like an inside view, doing all the calculations. So, looking out in the world, what's happening and how does it impact my company. As Zoltán, maybe over to you. Maybe you can introduce yourself, but you already mentioned in the briefing beforehand that you already wrote an article in 2003 about case-based reasoning, and now it's happening. But maybe you can explain yourself, what you're doing, and how it all fits in.
Yeah, just a short introduction. My name is Zoltán Lelkes. I am CEO of the OptaSoft. I am a chemical engineer and a mathematician, and I am working with Ames from 2006 in supply chain optimization and software development. And my role in this work was in the prototype to put together the different disciplines, AI, network science, and supply chain management. And what is very interesting here, that the AI capability increased highly, so we can use it even in supply chain optimization for collecting data, understand the data, analyze and propose some possibilities. But still, we need some kind of bridge to supply chain optimization, and that's where the prototype, what we build, helped us to understand that AI can help us to think about different topics, but we need to make behind it some more complex calculations, and helping AI to give us better and better suggestion.
But Zoltán, getting back to the article you have written in 2003, what has changed since then? So what is now?
A lot of things changed. What we made at that time, that we collected information from different open source and we put in the case databases, And then based on neighborhood functioning, we try to find for a special problem the best fit model, and then tailor-made changing on that model. So we try to improve the modeling capability of human brain with the AI. But since then, what it took for us hours, it's several seconds, and the open database are reachable for AI. So that I couldn't imagine at that time what we can achieve nowadays.
Yeah. So now, and as of November last year, all of a sudden, GTPT came about, GTP4. Maybe you can explain what the impact of GTP4 is in network science.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we use the GPT-4, and we use GPT-4 for collecting data from open databases, from the web, from articles, and also we helped to the GPT-4 to understand what information for us is relevant, and we had a different level of information to GPT-4, what is relevant. And just to explain shortly, the most and the top of the information is always the simple keywords, but also behind it we put the company information in a really structured way. We give it to GPT-4, and also some information about the current network. So based on it, the GPT-4 is able to find the relevant information for the team, the relevant information for the planning department. And based on it, GPT-4 can generate some kind of impact suggestions. So, for example, something happening in Asia, then we need to change our network in Europe because any changes, and then we made one more step, and we take network science, and network science investigate the structural characteristic of networks and its building part, and based on the high level characteristics, we can predict the network behaviors, and that's great, because GPT-4 gave us the information that something is happening, and then we can visualize it. And it helped us to evaluate the network, the resilience, the robustness, and flexibility. And based on this information, we can generate new scenarios, which is the third discipline here, the supply chain management and network design, which give us the goals, the constraints, the business questions. So what is the learning here? GPT-4 itself, it's not enough. It's great to have some kind of language model to discuss with the user, but we need our well-known knowledge in network science and supply chain management.
So what does it mean? It's not enough, what should you add to it? The knowledge of the planners, they have specific knowledge about certain behaviors of manufacturing and then the network. So what should you add to it? Can you explain a bit more?
Yeah. The GPT-4 add to us the possibility to reach those kind of information which is not in our everyday life, but can affect our network.
Yeah.
And that's important, that it can search and survey the open information. And also what is great, that it can help us to have a new idea about what kind of impact can I have. And sometimes with human brain, we don't see that totally different informations, how correlated or how linked in our network. But the AI can do it with the network science. And based on it, we can have many assistants from the AI: idea, scenario building, even some information. How can I present for my customers or for my boss that, okay, this scenario should be calculated and compare and analyze. Sensitivity analysis it's necessary here because we see something which is important. And that kind of combination of different science here give together an assistant and Sensai to the user.
Okay. So Zoe, maybe you can add to that. So what does it bring to the table, this kind of combination?
Yeah, so what we built is we combined AI, so large language modules. We combined supply chain management and we combined network science. And these three elements together are the three which will revolutionize the supply chain network design. Because what it will do now is it will evolve the current network design tools, which are reactive. So you as a user, you need to decide which business questions you want to address, put in the data and think about which scenarios you want to run.
Mhm.
And we are now going to make that a prescriptive piece of technology, which will tell you as a user what you do not know, because it's very easy to plan for what you know, but it becomes very hard to plan for what you do not know. And AI is going to provide the unknown and the unexpected to our users to make sure that they do not miss an opportunity to evolve or adapt their networks to what's happening in the outside world. And that combined, I think it's really the big game changer, because now we don't only have a network design technology, but we have a prescriptive version of it, and that allows for users to create scenarios within minutes and not within weeks. And I think that is key to act fast, because even if you think about it in a skeptical way, thinking, oh, if it's very important, if something very important happens in the world and it's impacting my network, then I will hear about it anyway. But the challenge is to hear about it first and act first, so you can make sure that your company objectives are still met, even though disruptions will happen, but you will be resilient enough to embrace those.
You see consumer behavior and customer behavior is changing rapidly, and so you have to act upon that, the first, and before you're missing out on some changes in the market to serve them. So you explained you have created a prototype, what you call a personal AI assistant. Maybe you can explain what you have developed, and I think in a matter of weeks or month. Can you explain a bit more and explain what it is?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, well, putting everything together, we at some point thought, okay, we now have an AI assistant, which will help our users performing their network design studies. And as every AI assistant, it needs a proper name. So we came up with Sensai, with the AI of artificial intelligence in there. And as we mentioned, we built a prototype. So I will show you the prototype in a couple of minutes. And it's good to know that it's a prototype still, so it's not the real product. So after this, we will productize it. But we wanted to show the world what's possible when you combine AI, supply chain management, and network science, and what it means for your network design, because it's huge.
Yeah. So Sensai, I looked it up. That's a Japanese phrase for teacher, instructor, mostly related to martial arts, so karate and judo. Is there a reason why you chose it apart from the AI in the wording?
Yeah, because we wanted to have the teacher element in there, and as we all know, AI is very interesting technology, but AI is also evolving. So we can learn a lot from AI as a human, but in the other way around, AI needs to learn a lot from us as well. And I think that's the fascinating element of embracing AI and incorporate it in network design, because with everything we do, AI will teach the user how to operate, but based on the human behavior, AI will have that learning curve and that learning loop in there. So it's teaching from both sides.
It reminds me of the movie Kill Bill by Quentin Tarantino, and the Sensai is training the female character how to hit a wooden pole and make it break. So that's the analogy. You have to teach it to make it work. All right, but now we get to the part. So let's go to the real demo, and then we'll see how it's working.
Yes. Yeah. So now you're looking at the prototype of Sensai, and we're going to show you an example of a fictional company, which is in the petrochemical industry. So that gives you a sense of what's happening. So we are telling the AI and technology what my company is all about. So a company profile and a basic template. And a basic template is our terminology for your network. So it tells AI, okay, this is my petrochemical company and this is my network, these are my locations, these are my suppliers, these are my products, these are my competitors maybe, and these are the keywords which I'm interested about. And you can see that all types of alerts and articles are loaded here. So AI will search the world, currently external databases, on what's relevant for you as a company for your networks based on the data that we provided. And as a user, you can determine which alert is relevant for you. So you can see the importance measure there. So is it high importance, low importance, medium importance? And it will always direct you to the original article. So you, again, as a human, you can sense check if indeed that article which the AI has selected for you as relevant is indeed relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So here you see a first glimpse of working together with AI. Now let's see that this article is relevant for us. It sounds good. Now you will recognize the ChatGPT element, because here it will explain in normal people language what the potential impact of this alert is to your network. And let's assume this is relevant for us. We want to continue. And now we are working together with our tool, SE Navigator Network Design. You can see the visualization of our fictional company.
Yep.
And you can now see 3 bubbles. And these 3 bubbles are the locations which are directly impacted by this alert. And now we're going to show you which locations are indirectly impacted by the same alert. You can see different colors and different bubbles. And how bigger the bubble, how bigger the impact. So this was our big whoa element, because there's an article of a Korean business post, which I normally don't read as a Dutch-based citizen, but now I can see what the impact has, what it has on my network. And now the next beauty comes, because now AI is going to suggest what type of scenario we as a company need to run in order to adapt our networks to this alert. And it's providing suggestions. So I, as a user, I can now say, okay, sense check, makes sense, but I want to adjust some of the values, for example. So it's really a dialogue between an AI teacher and the human teacher together, making a brilliant overview. What you see happening here now is that we will compare what the outcome is of the scenario. So we will compare our current network compared to the suggested adjustments to change our network based on AI.
Mm-hmm.
And at a first glimpse, it looks similar, because on the left side, you see the suggested scenario, and on the right side, you see the existing network. But if you scroll in, you can see that there's one transport lane removed. So it's a real suggestion to change your network. But I think here the beauty comes in, because with doing this, we are saving a lot of costs here. So we are not only adapting the network to change, we are not telling only what you need to change from a physical network perspective, but you're also saving cost at the same time. So what you just saw was that AI is proposing relevant alerts, relevant events to you as a user. The user determines if it's relevant, yes or no. Then the impact analysis is done. So what does it mean for your network if you have this information? And what is the direct and the indirect impact of your network? And if you then think as a human, as a user, okay, this is interesting, I need to generate a scenario on this, then AI will suggest to you what type of scenario you need to run. It will run it automatically. And as a user, you can just see the response, and now you can act. And what you just saw happened in minutes.
Yeah.
And today, if I have to do this without AI, this can take me days and weeks. So this is our game changer here. This is what we want to productize, to make a reactive network design tool where the user needs to plan for the unknown into a prescriptive assistant telling you how to act, how to adopt, how to build resilience without the heavy lifting.
Yeah, it's cool to see they have integrated the alert phase into your scenario planning, so you can click on it. What is the impact, and also make some adjustment to the network, and also, with the cost and the variances that you can click on it. But so that's the cool part, that it's related and also integrated. So that's very neat to see. So next. Yeah, you summarized it already, but I was wondering, that you also can automate some extent of this, because if you click through a lot of alerts, maybe afterwards you can sense something, this is worthwhile to consider or not. Yeah, so in the end, you can do a lot of these kind of things, and it is worthwhile, as you can see with the cost savings. But in the end, it's also maybe time consuming to do. So that is also something you could learn to the computer.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, this was our prototype, so making sure that the technology does what it needs to do. And one of the things, indeed, when we showed it to our users, saying, "Okay, we built this. What do you think?" One of the first things they said, "Oh, only those alerts are already so interesting to have on its own." But also they said, I want to share it with my sales department, because one of the alerts had an impact on potential new market opportunities, for example. So it's not the alerts and the impact analysis is not only relevant for the supply chain department or the center of excellence departments. You can really incorporate all kinds of departments in there. So there's definitely something with those alerts that we want to do. So this is just a prototype, and we will make it better from here.
All right, Akhil. So you are using 2 modules of Ames, SNOP and tank scheduling. What do you think of all this?
Oh, I think this is fantastic. In terms of, if you can go back to the previous slide, the 4A concept is amazing, because if you are able to get the alerts in time, and the impact, frequency, and the intervention of it by analyzing it, and the last one, which reads, so you can act. This would be a blessing in disguise for any company which is looking at customer centricity.
Okay.
Because
Cool.
just acting on a real-time information helps save you so much of money, build so much of reputation, evolve and enhance so much of your customer experiences.
So how does it relate to what you mentioned as a prescriptive tool?
Yeah, I think it's great as a prescriptive tool. The 4 factors which are written here, like saving time, increasing resilience, agility, and automation, bang on, because this really helps systems to be auto ready and self-reliant. Of course, it needs and requires a lot more of data, as I'm seeing some questions in the chat also coming, that you will have to train the system before it becomes prescriptive. But as and when it learns and tries to become stronger and efficient, this really helps the supply chains of tomorrow to be much more agile and resilient.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that the Sensai already has the basic network of a certain company in it. So it has a higher relevance to look for the right kind of alerts, and not just like ChatGPT, type in all kind of prompts.
As I said, a correlation could be an ecosystem network. So it not necessarily is that one company's or a global event could be triggered for across companies, right? So it could be an ecosystem in the making itself.
Yeah, right. So Zoe, so what are the next steps for you for this prototype, but also for companies to use it?
Yeah, so this is indeed the prototype. We've built this in the last week, so it's crazy how technology is evolving and how fast we can act upon this and how we can embrace it. So for us, the next step is to productize the prototype. And we, like I said, we already work together with users because we need user input, we need the learning cycle. So one of the next steps and one of my questions for the audience today is if you think this is interesting, if you see the potential and you think, oh, I want to jump on board on this adventure, I want to learn and be part of the journey, I would like you to sign up as a pilot user. And this is not a sales story, so no charges. I just want to use the technology, get feedback, get the training loop in place. So productizing the product, the prototype, and we would like to do that with as much test users as possible. So if you're interested, then please reach out to me after the webinar, or contact me directly or via LinkedIn. So that's the next step, making sure that we've built the product as good enough that it's that it can affect as much humans doing network design studies as possible.
Okay, and you can raise your hand. So afterwards, you can also have a direct conversation. There will be a table in the virtual lounge, so you can actually sit at the table and say hi to the persons of Ames, who are creating this pilot. So be there or be square. So that's a good point. And I think yes, there are a lot of manufacturing and retail and wholesale companies in the audience. So I think there's a huge need to get some more companies involved for this pilot, because you should have a lot of network types to train the GTP4 engine to scrape the internet for
Yes.
for kind of
Yes,
alerts.
exactly. And I see in the chat that there's a question around, do I need to be an Ames customer? You do not. So it's really the more, the better indeed, to make sure that that we train AI, that the results become better and better and better, and that we can productize the prototype.
So we are actually at the Q&A. So if there are more questions, we have a 3 more minutes. So let me see if I come up with questions. So you see the Q&A functionality on the right hand side, to ask them over there, so I can track down. So question to you, Zoe. What do you expect? Where do you see? You have seen a lot of logos of your customers. Where do you predict the most traction of this kind of tooling? Certain kind of industries or certain kind of geographies? What is your expectation?
Yeah, my assumption when we started is that it will be agnostic, independent of the industry, because disruptions happen to all of us, to all of the industries, which it's a mutual factor which combines us all. In the pilot phase, when we built a prototype, we had users of different industries, and in every industry it was interesting. So from my perspective, I don't see a specific industry yet, but I can imagine that if we evolve, if we become better, if we have more use cases, that we might go in certain directions. Regarding the geography, like we saw in the prototype, your whole supply chain everything is combined with everything, and even something, an alert coming from a newspaper out of Korea has an impact on a fictional company based in Central Europe. So geography-wise, no specifics, because I think the power is in that global element.
Yeah. Another thing is, you can have alerts both on the demand side. Demand is shifting, as we have seen in the cosmetic industry, that Ariana Grande is selling a lot of perfume out of nowhere last year. That's on the demand side, but also on the supply side, disruptions of parts, of raw materials, scarcity in that area. So these alerts can be both on the demand side and on the supply side. Question from the audience: is there a minimal S&OP maturity required for a customer to benefit from the prototype?
No. So there's no need to be on any maturity level. The only thing we need to understand is what type of company are you? We have some questions around the company profile, which is more related about the physical network. So what does your supply chain look like? Where are your locations? What type of products do you have? How is the transportation covered? Who are your suppliers? Who are your customers? Do you have manufacturing elements in your supply chain? So it's really around what does your network look like, and what is important for you as a company. So are you very interested in sustainability elements, or more into regulations, or certain external factors, or do you want to focus on your raw material supply, or your demand? So no level. So to summarize, you don't need to be mature in anything. If you can just tell me how your network look like, how your company look like, and what you would like to achieve from the AI, what your output could be, then that's already helping.
I get more questions now popping in, but as we see right now, we are out of time. But the good news is we have still another 30 minutes in the lounge. So please join us next in the lounge. And we have 3 tables, one about the security of, get this kind of GTP4 working, that kind of stuff. Also network design. And the third table will be about the pilot, just mentioned by Zoe. So if you have more questions, please join us in the after talk. It's look like a Zoom meeting, and you can join at the table. So be there or be square. And next, together with Ames, we created a checklist, a very practical checklist about network design. That's available on our website, also at Ames, but also on Supply Chain Movement website. You see the contact details of both Zoltán and Zoe, and you see on the right hand side we created an ecosystem visualization. This one is about household products. Basically, my suggestion and recommendation would be, we go from a linear supply chain from raw materials to end usage. You should visualize your total ecosystem like this, and then it looks like a network design. It's like all the stakeholders, key stakeholders in your supply chain, also the banks, the NGOs, and you name it. And the recycling part is popping up, and your logistic parties. So that's also available online. So check it out. This is the new world, not linear. It's like an ecosystem, and it's also like a circular ecosystem. So we're checking out right there. So thanks for now. Thanks, Zoe, Zoltán, and Akhil for joining us for this great new twist of AI in supply chain. So thank you for joining. The participants joining us, thank you for being live here from all over the world. And I hope you liked it. And I hope to see you in the next webinar or in the lounge. And I would like to thank all of you for now, and see you later. And thanks for now, and bye-bye.
Bye.